What's good, everybody? We finally made it. The college baseball tournament, the field of 64 is upon us. You already know what time it is. This is Breaking Bet, and I'm your boy, JohnnyVTV. And I got my guy who's been with me all season, John Bollman, to break down this historic event. John, if we combine the best holidays, the best days of the year, Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, July 4th, St. Patrick's Day, my birthday, this is what you would get in one combination. Can you believe it's here?
Yeah, no, I mean, I keep saying that this is my favorite day of the year, one of my favorite weekends of the year, and I don't think people totally believe me. I would say MLB postseason is up there, but at the same time, you don't have every single team playing on the first day of the postseason there. So we're gonna have every game, every team kicking off tomorrow. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Dude, I know we weren't able to really get something on the books for last week with the conference tournaments because we were saving it for this, because this is going to be maybe the best show that we've had all year. We've had some great shows for the college baseball front this season, and I'm so proud of the work we've done, and great listeners, and appreciate everybody engaging. But this is really where we're going to make our bones. We've both had fantastic seasons, very profitable for our subscribers and our audience on Twitter and YouTube and everything. So I cannot wait. So that's why we got to get right into it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited to get into it. We've got a lot to talk about. Might as well get into it.
We got my guy Dilly Daggers, very, very big fan, friend of the show here. The night before Christmas, this is what it is. I feel like a kid, waiting for Santa Claus to come down the chimney, wondering what he got me, what's under the Christmas tree. And our boy Crutch, another friend of the show, T-minus 16 and a half hours. Keep that countdown coming, man. We need that big time. All right, before we get into a quick little bit of business here, if you have not done so already, become a college baseball second half VIP member for the postseason. The postseason package is open. It's $100 for the month. That's going to come with a lot of picks and a lot of winners. Go on my Twitter, in my bio link, and subscribe today. All right, as we do every single show, what's the biggest underdog most likely to win out this week?
So I think I'm going to go with Fresno State plus money. I think they're plus 225, I want to say. I got Stetson the other day at plus 235, but that number's gone very far away. So I'm going to go with Fresno State now. I am not very high on UCLA whatsoever. They really don't have they don't have an ace. They really don't have much pitching that they can go to. Their bats can go silent. I don't think that they should have been a regional host, to be honest. And Fresno State's a solid team. You usually don't see 4 seeds. I mean, it sounds weird to say as good of odds at plus 220, but usually these 4 seeds are, plus 500, plus 1,000. And Fresno State around plus 230 for a reason. They're a solid team, and I'm not a big believer in UCLA.
It's funny you say that because I've done shows, podcasts all week, and a bunch of my articles heading into the tournament on RotoWire, and I believe this is the region. We're going to talk a little bit more about this later in the show. We're going to break down the regionals themselves and the super regionals and the path to Omaha. But for me, Fresno was maybe the most live 4 seed in what is the Wild West, most up for grab regions. Every year we get 1 or 2 of these up for grab regions. Last year it was out in Arizona, where it was Grand Canyon, Arizona, Dallas Baptist, West Virginia, where 1 through 4 has a legitimate chance to win. And this is what it is in Los Angeles this year. You could put Clemson in that conversation as well. Fresno State was something I've been eyeing all week. And if you're looking at it logistically, this is what it's going to come down to. UCLA, in my opinion, they have some talented players. I think their pitching has like 5 or 6 quality arms. I love Wyland Moss. As a freshman, he got removed from the Friday role a few weeks ago, and he's kind of been in this piggyback situation. He's talented, but despite having like some talented starters with a little bit of depth, they don't have a dominant ace. They don't have a guy that you could throw out there game one and he's definitely going to get you an opportunity to win a ball game. Whereas Fresno State has that guy. Jack Anchor, their Friday guy, has a ridiculous 111 to 20 strikeout to walk ratio this year. And despite his bloated ERA in the fives, his SIERA is below 3. So he's definitely gotten a little bit unlucky this year, and he's got the potential to silence a UCLA offense that's really commanded by 3 players, that relies heavily on 3 players. And out of those 3 players, they need their number one guy to deliver in shortstop Rock Chalowski, a guy who's going to be in the mix for the 1-1 pick next year, who's a very strong Golden Spikes candidate this year, I might add. So there's too much reliance on just a few players to really get this done. UCLA is a vulnerable host, one of the most vulnerable hosts, in my opinion. So I think Fresno State here at a plus 220, I gave out a plus 245 banger already. They're live here. So I agree with you 100%. I'm going to go with the other 4 seed. The 2 4 seeds I think that have the best chance to win their regions here, or at least game 1. Fresno State, USC Upstate. I actually picked Clemson to win this region, John, because Clemson was a team I had going to Omaha preseason. And Clemson has not played well in the second half of the year, more likely like the last 3 to 4 weeks. I just have not loved what I've been seeing. I've fallen out of favor with them. I think they're extremely vulnerable despite having a talented team. And listen, I do think ultimately they win the region if they play up to their potential. Because as you know, they play a lot better in June. They step into this different element at home in Clemson, where it's one of the most rowdy environments, and they show up to play. And this, even though they have a really talented team and they have a stud Friday guy in Canuck, who, by the way, will not throw in this game. It's going to be Saturday guy Drew Titsworth. Great last name, by the way. This is a vulnerable spot because Clemson has played sloppy baseball. Their hitting has talent, like Cam Canarella, who usually puts on his cape in June. It's very hit or miss. They're not playing clean baseball. They're not playing fundamentally sound. It's sloppy, and their offense has been very streaky. So you have a team like USC Upstate, who's now not going against Canuck, that has an offense that just rips daddy hacks. And even though Clemson has a great pitcher in the bullpen, closer Lucas Malstead, and a couple other allotment of players, there's definitely a scenario where Clemson lays an egg because it's just gone that way for them. So Upstate at plus 240. There's even a plus 265 out there, I believe, on Upstate. John, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you said. I am also on Clemson to win this region, but USC Upstate's a good team, and I'm not very high on like Clemson. I was saying earlier, there are kind of 2 ways to play regionals. Either you love a team or you don't think the other 3 teams are very good. And this is kind of that second one. You know, I don't necessarily love Clemson, but I don't think Kentucky's very good. I don't think they should have gotten in. West Virginia hasn't really had, when they have played good competition, they haven't shown that, you know, they're capable of beating that good competition. And Upstate's a solid team. But I don't think they could win this regional. It's definitely possible, but I definitely like Clemson to get out. They've also been playing better at home. Like you mentioned, Canucks not going in game 1, which is interesting. But I think even if Clemson gets to the Supers, they're losing in Supers. So I don't mind this play at all.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. So what we're going to do here on this program tonight is we're going to start with the game 1 picks and maybe keep you guessing because maybe we have a team that wins the first game or loses the first game, but we think could win the region. We'll probably end up giving away some of the information along the way, but we're going to go games first so that way you can get ahead and fire some of those lines in that have moved already as pitching announcements have been coming out, and it's been causing some line movement over the last, I would say, 24 hours or so. So we're going to start in the Knoxville region. Cincinnati, Wake Forest with a decent total of 13. Wake Forest has come out and said it's Blake Morningstar, who's probably been their best arm, where Cincinnati should be going with Nathan Taylor. I think it's confirmed. I can't remember off the top of my head. Cincinnati's catching plus 125, John. Which way is the wind blowing for you?
I'm on Cincy here at plus money behind Nathan Taylor. I think they're a solid team. I'm not very high on Wake Forest this year, to be honest. Morningstar has been pitching pretty well this season. If Taylor is going for sure, I would also look at an under. It worries me because I don't totally trust either of these bullpens, but I definitely trust Taylor and I trust Morningstar. But I think Cincy's the better team. Wake Forest is extremely inconsistent. And since he's got the bats and they have the ace, they're usually very, very potent on Friday nights, which would essentially be what this game is. So I'd go Cincy.
Me too. I think Cincy is an official play for me. Cincinnati is a team I really have admiration for because they have been playing postseason baseball for the last month. They've had to fight for their playoff lives since basically the third week of April. And this team was a bubble team for a while. Through the last 4 weeks of the regular season, the conversation was like, okay, since he's a bubble team, are they going to get in this week? Is this the week that, maybe they fall off and they fall out? Or are they going to keep pushing forward? And listen, I love what the Bearcats do. They have the Big 12 Player of the Year in Carrington Cross. That kid's been an absolute stud. They have a good pitcher, Nathan Taylor, and a couple of other good arms that maybe on paper don't look as good and reflect what they actually are. This offense, though, is going to be a nightmare for this region because they can run. This team has almost 130 stolen bases. None of the other teams in this region have been successful in defending the run game. So Cincinnati brings an element that only a handful of teams can really execute successfully. So aside from that, I just think overall they're the scrappier team. Wake Forest has looked dead this year. I know losing Ethan Conrad kind of put a damper in their offense, but they really haven't had consistent pitching all year. This is not the Wake Forest from last year with pitching or the year before. They grabbed a bunch of guys who were like, I don't want to say outcasts, but cast-offs, like Friday night guys from other programs. Like Logan Lunsford technically was a Friday night guy in the SEC for Mizzou. Matt Bedford, who wasn't even in the rotation, was a Friday night guy for Notre Dame. Griffin Green is one of their bullpen arms. He was once upon a time a Friday guy for Virginia Tech a few years ago. But they don't have anybody that I really think is that dangerous. Morningstar is talented, so I'm not saying that, but between the down year of pitching and the hitting that's fallen into a lull, I think Cincinnati with Nathan Taylor on the mound and the threat they have in the run game with, in my opinion, maybe the most dangerous bat in this game in Carrington Cross, plus money that's incorrect. That should be Cincinnati probably, I would say, honestly, maybe like a minus 120 favorite here.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Not very high on Wake. I think Cincy's a very live dog.
Yeah, so do I. All right, what about West Virginia? A small favorite against Kentucky. That's the 2-3 matchup in the Clemson region. A lot of these totals, the totals have come out. Most of these totals are low. Most of these totals are under 11. There's a handful that's like 12 and up, and a couple I've seen are like 13 to 15. West Virginia is probably throwing Griffin Kern. It's unconfirmed, I think. I haven't seen if Kentucky's throwing Nick Harris or Nick McKay or Ben Cleaver. But do you think West Virginia has just been a fugazi all year because they played an easy schedule? Or where are you going with this one?
A little bit. I mean, this one is a game that I'm honestly staying far away from. I'm not very high on either team. I really do think it could go either way. I think West Virginia is the better team, but in a one-game scenario not a playoff win, like losing your out scenario, but still one-game scenario here. I have no idea which way this could go. West Virginia, like I said, every time they seem to play a good team, they don't win. They don't show that they're capable of winning those games. So, and I don't think, like I said, I don't think Kentucky should have made regionals, but a lot of times you see those teams, play with nothing to lose. So I really do think it could go either way.
So for me in this one, I don't have anything official here. This is just us talking out this game. The one reason why I like West Virginia here is because Griffin Kern. Griffin Kern has pitched extremely well this year. And the Mountaineers do have a few good bullpen arms. Carson Ostrich has been pretty solid overall this year, or Estridge, I'm sorry. He was a starter in the rotation and moved into the bullpen. But despite the fact that they have a pretty good roster, West Virginia is a team I did not believe in all year, because when they played the competition that was even remotely good, they folded. And I think in this sense, Kentucky probably has the best pitching staff overall, at least weekend rotation wise, in this region. And while I do agree with you that they shouldn't have gotten in because they had 19 Q1 losses, they fit this region perfectly. They fit this game perfectly because they play fundamental baseball. They don't make mistakes. They don't beat themselves, while other teams in this region do. And West Virginia is one of those teams, especially late in the game in the field. I don't have anything official here, but I might lean Kentucky because I saw that they are throwing Ben Cleaver, who's probably been their best arm. So I would most likely wait, though, if you want to play Kentucky. This is a true 50-50 in my opinion, but I would wait to see if West Virginia catches a little bit of steam, and then maybe you get a plus money price on Kentucky. All right, let's go with Stetson, NC State. The Stetson Hatters and NC State Wolfpack is, in my opinion, a top 5 matchup, top 6 matchup of the Friday slate here. Stetson's plus 185 on DraftKings. I saw a 2-1 out there. NC State's minus 245 with a 10.5. I'll let you kick this one off.
Yeah, I mean, I was alluding to this earlier. I got Stetson at, I think it was plus 230. I like Stetson here. I haven't been high on NC State all season long. Stetson also, they've got a good record. They've played well all season, but they played some really tough teams to start their season. So they know what it takes to beat these big brand schools. I also like the under here. Stetson's got a great pitching staff. They have some really good relievers that can go multiple innings. I don't totally trust NC State's bullpen, but they do have some flamethrowers. They've got some guys that, throw up to 97. And I believe, I'm not sure who's going for them. I would assume it's for Ton. But I still like Stetson at plus money, and I like the under here.
So I actually have Stetson to win this region NC State to win this region in Athens. I gave it out earlier this week at a plus 250, plus 300, simply because this is the team that just always seems to find a way to show up in the postseason. Elliot Avent's a great coach who knows how to maximize his talent. And I wasn't big on NC State coming into the year, John. I really wasn't. I thought after last year's run, they were going to run out of gas this year because they lost not just a lot of talented players, most of their talented players in their roster, but it largely came from the offense. Aside from that, those guys were senior leadership. Those were the older guys. So coming into this year, I didn't really have any expectations. And honestly, I really didn't think they were that good all year. But the MO of this team is pitching. And they retained a lot of their studs from last year on the mound. And in the bullpen was a big strength for them last season. And this year, it hasn't been that consistent, hasn't been that great. But a lot of those guys are still there. They've had down years, but I think in a tournament like this, they can get it together. And truthfully, NC State is capable of winning this region. This is a rematch between NC State and Georgia from last year. So it's not Georgia, from NC State and God damn it. Who is it? I'm blanking here. Can you imagine? Anyway, NC State playing Stetson is interesting. I ultimately can see Stetson win this region, but I like the Wolfpack to win it. But this game, Stetson being 185, 2-1, is too big. They're going to be going with Jonathan Gonzalez, the ASUN pitcher of the year. This kid's been marvelous. They have a pretty good offense. I think they're not getting enough respect. The numbers come down a little bit, so people are betting Stetson. But truthfully, I would probably make Stetson something along the lines of like a plus 130 dog, not a plus 185, plus 200 dog. We got some comments here. Crutch Fresno, that's right. Aubie Laker, what's up, Aubie? Sup, guys? Y'all think Auburn's gonna lose? LOL, no way, bro. Yeah, that's who it is. Sorry, it was Auburn's region. Thank you for reminding me. We're gonna get to that region in a bit, though, Aubie. Next one on the board, John. East Tennessee State against Louisville, down in the Nashville region. This has the makings of a very interesting contest because a lot of people don't know about East Tennessee State. They've been one of the more entertaining mid-majors throughout the year. They're really fun to watch in the midweek. They have one of the elite offenses in the country. I think they have 116 home runs on the year. They're tops in the country, or like top 5. They're absolutely ridiculous. They just take daddy hacks, and they're minus 105 here. I think Louisville, they've been running out of gas in the entire second half. The injuries to their pitching with Patrick Forbes and Peter Michael has really been detrimental to them. Their offense is actually pretty solid, but I just don't know if I trust what they have on the mound right now. I think East Tennessee State at minus 105 is the way to go here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm on ETSU. I made that a play. It's as much as a play on ETSU as it is a fade on Louisville. Even Patrick Forbes, even when he was pitching this year, he was walking, 6 guys in 3 innings, insane stuff like that. And he would get pulled pretty early. Obviously, he wouldn't. I don't know if he's starting this game. I don't think he would be. But Louisville, it seems like whoever they bring in, it's not like they have that shutdown reliever either. They really don't have any pitching whatsoever. They do have a good lineup, like you mentioned. I don't mind an over either. I was looking at playing an over on this one too. But I ended up playing ETSU on the money line, didn't decide to double down. But I don't mind it if you want to play the over or ETSU here.
It's a big over too, 14.5. I haven't checked the weather yet because I haven't really locked in on any totals that I would want to play. And here's the thing. Because this is the postseason and you got a lot of guys that haven't been in this situation before, it's a different atmosphere. The weekend series are one thing, but this is totally different. We've seen a lot of times good teams just flame out quickly in the regional round. So that usually comes in the way of pitchers, especially when it comes to keeping command. So that can get away from you in a hurry, and it's very inconsistent in that regard. So I think for this one, the total is appealing because I'm not really sold on whoever Louisville throws either, but I think the money line for ETSU is a better number. And they're getting a lot of respect here. They didn't open up as that big of an underdog. So I'm a little surprised that the sports books is on this with the way they opened them out at a short underdog price. Take me to USC TCU. The Horned Frogs out in Corvallis are a minus 200 favorite, while USC is 154. You're on mute.
So I would go TCU here in a parlay if I were to play a money line, but my favorite player is an under. I think Tommy Laporte versus Caden Aoki. I mean, maybe neither of those. I hope they end up pitching. I haven't seen any pitching announcements there, but I would find it hard to believe if those teams don't go with those guys. But both teams are those types of teams that they don't have much pitching after their top guys. So I really like the under here. Obviously, got to make sure those two are pitching. And I do think TCU wins. I don't know if I'd parlay it, though. But I'm not very high on USC. I think TCU is a very good team. I have them getting out of the regional. I didn't end up making an official play, but I like TCU there as well.
Yeah, TCU, it's a little thick to lay 200 with. So I think the only way to play this is in a parlay. Tommy Laporte has been one of the top 10 pitchers in the country this year. He's been one of the 3 best pitchers in, I would say, the Big 12, along with Harrison Bodendorf and, what's his name? I mean, is it Nathan Taylor? Maybe Nathan Taylor. But in any case, I feel like TCU is playing really good baseball as of late. I think the Frogs are going to be frisky here. I really do. I'm not just saying this game. I'm saying overall, the region, the tournament. They've played really good lately. Their offense, which was a big concern for me coming into the year, has gotten hot. I think they've scored at least seven runs in like 8 of their last 10 games. And it's true. After Tommy Laporte, the pitching is a little uncertain, especially with Cade Parker kind of stinking up the joint, or maybe he got hurt. But Mason Brassfield, I have some hopes on. They have some good bullpen arms. I think despite the fact that injuries have kind of shortened up this pitching staff, they're going to be able to have enough. And their offense is definitely a leg up over USC. The only guy in USC's lineup to really worry about is Ethan Hedges. Their pitching has been facing a lot of Big Ten this year. They haven't really faced that many good offenses. USC's, I would say, premier offense they face is Oregon's, which is really good, but that's pretty much it. It's not much else after that. And truthfully, I don't know if anybody would scare me from this USC pitching staff other than maybe Cade Naoki. Cade Naoki, if he throws, I think the total of 9, despite how low that is, might not be low enough. So that is worth an underlook because Aoki has shined in big moments before in these big games. He was dealing against Arizona last year in the Pac-12 tournament final. So that's a worthwhile play, but I agree TCU in a parlay is probably the best look if you want to get in on them. Miami, Alabama, John. Bama is minus 154 hosting the Hurricanes, who I would say they're live in this region here down in Hattiesburg. Bama, I haven't seen a confirmation on the arm there, nor have I seen one with Miami. But what would it take for you to get in bed with Miami? Again, you're on mute.
I got to stop doing that. This is another game like Kentucky WVU where I truly think it could go either way. Alabama, if this were earlier in the season, I would have taken Alabama in a heartbeat. Miami's kind of closed stronger where Alabama's kind of limped to the finish line. Alabama's had to change up their starting rotation a bit. They moved Zane Adams to Sunday. But they don't have much pitching, even their relief pitching. They've kind of been, bouncing between guys in their leverage positions all season long. I'm not very high on either team here. I guess I'd lean Alabama, but I'm not paying that number for them.
So Alabama for me is one of the more live 2 seeds in this round. I think Miami is an interesting story, but they closed the season looking like shit. They were not good to close out the year. And yeah, they've taken some injuries to their pitching staff, but their offense really isn't anything special. It's Danny Cuvée, who's basically the reincarnation of Yohandy Morales, who can carry this offense, but that's a tall task. And I just don't know if they're going to have enough at the plate in order to get this done, because Alabama is talented. And they haven't really played up to their competition or up to their capability a lot this year. It's a lot of ups and downs. It's a lot of high variance. We've seen Bama look really good. We've seen them look really bad. But if Alabama plays like they can, and I think they have the advantage in the weekend rotation. I know Miami's gone with a couple of freshmen in the rotation. I don't know if they're going to go with Hughes. I think Nick Robert was the one that went down earlier this year. I think Hughes is their guy. So chances are they would probably go with him if he's the one that's still healthy against either Tyler Fay or Riley Quick. But I got to be honest, man, I think I like Bama a little bit more in terms of the pitching here because there is talent for them. It's just a matter of consistency. But the offense is definitely a huge advantage across the board. So I think Alabama is a play. I put them in a parlay because, truthfully, I didn't want to lay the 154 either, but I would lay the 154 as soon as I find out who's pitching because I want to confirm that before I give that to you straight. Western Kentucky, Georgia Tech, a very good matchup. I'm looking forward to this one. This is on that list of like top 6 games for me. On the Friday slate here. Western Kentucky is as high as 140, I believe, from what I've seen, but I just gave out the same book here at DraftKings just for simplicity purposes. They're facing Georgia Tech, who's around minus 166. Who you got?
Yeah, this is a really tough one. I don't know who's starting for Georgia Tech. I would assume it's Tate McKee. Not sure what his name is, but I know it's Mick something.
Tate McKee.
McKee. Yes. So he's their main guy. They really don't have much pitching after that. I assume that he goes in this game. Western Kentucky is kind of a team that's built around their pitching, but going into the conference tournament and even in the conference tournament, it seemed like they go down like 4-5-0 in every game, and they were able to come back. And I believe they ended up sweeping the tournament, but they were down in every single game. That's not sustainable. They're a team that maybe 2-3 weeks ago, I would take them in a heartbeat as an underdog here. But like I said, you can't just keep going down against these good teams. You're not going to be able to constantly come back. And Georgia Tech is a good enough team. They can hit. They were pretty pissed off that they didn't get a home regional. I don't know if that will translate into winning or translate into, beating up Western Kentucky. But I've been going back and forth on this one. I feel like if it were a pick 'em, I'd go Georgia Tech. I feel like at this number, I'd go Western Kentucky. So I really don't know. If McKee is pitching, I think I do like the under though, because Western Kentucky, like I said, they're a team that's built around their pitching. Georgia Tech is not much of an under team, but they are with McKee going, and he dominated in that ACC tournament showing.
So for me, on RotoWire mid-season, I gave out a nice little long shot for Western Kentucky to make the College World Series at like 15-1. And at the time, they were rolling. I think they had just beaten Dallas Baptist. They were commanding the Conference USA. They looked like they had a legitimate chance to host a regional if they kept going the way they were, like an outside chance. And, I believe in them because they can pitch. And I said, whichever region they go to, everybody else is going to have a hard time because they're going to be having their hands full with the amount of arms that this Hilltopper team has. They have a legit 3-man rotation with a bunch of bullpen arms, and they have what I believe is the second best offensive player in this region in Ryan Weidman, who's just a do-it-all player. He's batting 400. He's got 40-plus steals. He plays defense. He's got a little bit of pop. Like he is their guy. And truthfully, I don't like Georgia Tech. I didn't like them all year. I felt like them winning the ACC regular season was ridiculous because it was all predicated on them beating nobody. Georgia Tech is basically the West Virginia of the ACC. Teams that, listen, they're good teams, but they're not that good. They've been a beneficiary of paper soft schedules, which is crazy because they play in two of the best conferences in the country. And that's really where we're at. Georgia Tech's offense for me was never in question coming into the year. I had them finishing middle of the year in the ACC regular season from the preseason, but their pitching was a concern. And they haven't really done anything to alleviate that. Tate McKee is talented, but he's had a rough year. His ERA is north of the 5s. Like he's had some good outings. Like he did well against Cal last week. But if you look back at it, 5 innings, 4 runs against Duke, 1 inning, 7 earned against Louisville, 5 innings, 4 runs against Western Carolina, 3 1/3, 5 earned against Virginia. So he's had a rough second half. And other than Mason Patel, they don't really have that many good bullpen pieces. Patel is like their one legit arm out of the pen. Western Kentucky getting this money with probably the pitching advantage, that's where I'm going to go. I know a lot of people don't believe in Western Kentucky for the reasons you said. Like they've been playing very questionable baseball down the stretch, but I got to go with the pitching edge here. So give me the plus money on the Toppers. Cal Poly, Arizona. Going back out west, we're in the Eugene Regional here. It's a coin flip between the Wildcats and the Mustangs. Which one which team do you like?
Yeah, so this was a game I was originally off. I thought it was pretty good, like pretty understandable odds here, but now I'm on Arizona. I like them at the coin flip. They obviously won the Big 12 tournament. They're playing really well right now. And they were a team last year that kind of turned it on once they got to the postseason. Cal Poly is a good team, but I just think Arizona has that experience. They just made it through the Big 12 tournament. They played extremely well in it. I like Arizona on the money line.
So do I. I think it's probably going to be Owen Kramkowski against Griffin Ness for Cal Poly. Griffin Ness is really their one good pitcher, and he hasn't been that good this year. I think his ERA is 3.65, but that's in the Big West. I mean, it's solid overall. Don't get me wrong, but I think Arizona always does this. They are hit or miss throughout the year, but then they get hot towards the end of the season and they carry it into the conference tournament. They did it last year. They're doing it this year. And I don't really think Cal Poly is that impressive. I mean, as a team, their offense is probably the strength of their team, but it's mostly done on average. They're not really much of a power threat. And you got Griffin Ness going against an Arizona team that has two studs. Brendan Summerhill's most likely a first rounder this year. Mason White could be a first rounder if he cleans up the swing and miss, but he is legitimately capable of carrying an entire team on his back like he did in the Big 12 tournament. They have a couple of other really good bats in their lineup too. And the big thing is Arizona struggles against lefties big time. Cal Poly doesn't have a lefty throwing here. So give me the Wildcats here at a coin flip price. I think they're the better team that's faced better competition this year. Let's talk about one of the biggest line movers over the course of the week, over the course of the last couple of days. The Nebraska Cornhuskers were missing the field of 64 until they went on that miraculous big run in the Big Ten, the Big Ten Conference Tournament. So they draw in the Chapel Hill Regional against Oklahoma. Now, I made a comment on Monday with my guy Noah Bieniek on our podcast, The College Experience. And I said flat out, I'm like, I think if you're Skip Johnson to Oklahoma, you need to gamble. You're in a region that is extremely difficult with one of the top teams in the country in UNC, and you have to take a risk and you have to get creative if you want to win. I would save Kyson Witherspoon for a potential matchup against UNC on Saturday in the 1-0 spot. And that's what they did. And they're going to be throwing Malachi Witherspoon, the twin brother, here in this matchup against Nebraska and Jackson Brockett. I love the move by Skip Johnson because if they win, it could cause a big-time ripple effect, and not just the region, but the entire bottom left side of the bracket, the entire left side of the bracket if UNC got knocked out, and now that's one less big player in the field. But pertaining to this game, Malachi Witherspoon has been hit or miss this year, but he's been more miss than hit. He's either giving up 6 runs or he's over 3 innings, or he's going 6 innings, giving up 1 run. Since the announcement, people have been hammering Nebraska. Nebraska was about I think I saw them as high as 220 before the announcement became official. And I think I've seen them as high as maybe now 170. Do you think that that trend is right here?
I think it's definitely a good trend. I'm not playing Nebraska. If I was going to play the under, if Kyson Witherspoon was starting, I really like that. Nebraska's a team. They don't have guys with a great ERA, but they have guys that I don't know that are capable of it, if that makes sense. They have a lot of talent. They just it hasn't translated into pitching well this season. And they're still kind of a team that's built around their pitching, even though they haven't had the best pitching staff. So I think I'd still like the under here. It's really low without Kyson Witherspoon going. It's an interesting move to save him for UNC. It seems like they're worried about, they want to get out of the region. They don't care about winning, one game. So that's interesting. That's what that tells me. I would probably still pick Oklahoma to win this game, but I don't like it at this number.
I don't like that it's become so trendy, but I don't really think Oklahoma is that good. I don't think their pitching is that good after Kyson Witherspoon. I think everybody else is a big question mark. Again, there's talent, but there's no consistency. Offensively, other than Easton Carmichael, they don't really have a stud. Their MO on offense is run. Like Cincinnati, they will run you into the ground. They will look to steal the extra 90, and that's all well and good. But they're not consistent enough with getting runners in and having these offensive explosions. And listen, if Kyson Witherspoon's pitching in this situation, you might only need like 2 runs. But with Malachi Witherspoon pitching against a Nebraska team that's got a lot of juice coming into the tournament right now, you probably need at least 6 runs to win this game, at least. And Brockett's been the best starter for Nebraska, who does have some good pitching. And he's looked really good as of late. So you're getting this plus money for an Oklahoma team that might honestly be looking ahead to Saturday, because they might be thinking that they're just going to walk in here and beat the shit out of the Cornhuskers. I think you got to take the plus money with Nebraska. I gave out Nebraska officially as a play. I can live with Nebraska losing this and saying, hey, listen, I took a good shot. It was a good matchup. The number was way too big. And yeah, I caught it on the steam train while it was moving, but I can at least live with the fact that I went for it here.
All right, I've got a question for you then. Let's say Oklahoma loses the matchup against Nebraska. Do you pitch Kyson Witherspoon against Holy Cross?
You have to. That's elimination. You can't because you can't. So the thing is this, quite simply. If you lose this game and you're Oklahoma, now you got to go play Holy Cross, and you throw somebody else and you lose, you went 2 in barbecue without throwing perhaps the best pitcher in the country this year.
Yep.
You'll never live that down. So no, that's not going to happen. Kyson Witherspoon's going to go no matter what. But here's the thing, right? Because even to your question, even if Oklahoma loses this game, then they elect to go with maybe Cade Crossland against Holy Cross, and they win that game, go 1-1. They still have to win 2 more games. So then you go Kyson on that Sunday game, and then you have to win again. So then you have to find somebody else, and that's not even including who knows how many bullpen arms you'd have to use. So that's not even fucking. That's a dumb question. That's a dumb question.
I think it's a valid question. I think it's a valid question. I think they're playing with fire by not starting him. I agree. They have no pitching. The other thing is, if they do, they win, then they pitch him in game 2 against North Carolina. UNC is more than capable of coming out of the losers bracket. Oklahoma will have no pitching left after that. So it's definitely a decision.
I think it's the right decision. You're not playing to win one game. You're playing to win the region. I think it is the right decision. And I was saying it on the podcast before it happened, because I'm like, you're going into one of the top teams in the country. You have to do something special. You have to get creative. You have to take a calculated risk in order to pull this off. It's very unlikely you pull this off by going business as usual. Got a comment here. Sunday Puncher. What's up, buddy? My guys. And then Dilly Daggers. Do we have anything for if it's DeCaro or Knapp game 1 for UNC? Either way, OU versus UNC under. Yeah, definitely. I think it's Jake Knapp. And because they have Knapp. Because they have an elite 3-man rotation, you can do that. You don't have to worry about that when you're them. All right, let's go down to the Athens region where Oklahoma State and Duke will do battle. It should be Harrison Bodendorf against Owen Prosch, if I'm correct there. And it's a pretty fair price. Oklahoma State's come down a bit. I think I sold them out to like 110, 115, and they're getting a little bit of money here against the Duke Blue Devils, who are the 2 seed. I'll kick this one off. Oklahoma State was dead in the water in mid-April. They were 6-11 in the Big 12, and it was going to take a miracle for them to win. But they climbed out of the abyss, went on to win their last 3 series of the regular season, go 8-1 in the process, win a game in the Big 12 tournament, and finish at 15 wins in the Big 12. Very impressive. Despite the fact that Oklahoma State's offense has been a huge letdown this year, and it was maybe understated, the losses of Carson Benj and Zach Earhart and Lane Forsythe, I am surprised that they were this bad. Their swing and miss is off the charts bad. Nolan Schubert had a huge down year. I had a lot invested in him to win the Golden Spikes. I thought this was going to be his year. I thought this was going to be the kind of season that catapulted him into like the top 12 overall draft conversation. But ultimately, it didn't happen. But I think the Pokes are a good play here. I like the Pokes over Duke. They're going to have the pitching advantage no matter what. The Cowboys have the best rotation in this region. Harrison Bodendorf, Mario Pescia, and Sean Youngerman. And they have a couple studs in the pen, and Gabe Davis, Ryan Urey, among others. So Harrison Bodendorf is most likely to go against Duke here. I haven't confirmed it yet. I'm trying to find that out now. But Duke doesn't really have that one dominant arm that they've had in years past. Like whether it was Jonathan Santucci or Charlie Bielenson or Fran O'Shell or whoever, they don't have that guy. They'll still do this thing where like they'll use 8 different arms and everybody throws like an inning each to get it done. But to me, it's not a team that is really going to be able to get away with that this year because they just don't have enough talent to do so. Their offense is actually pretty solid this year, but it's really led by AJ Gracia and Ben Miller. But I think Harrison Bodendorf's gonna shove here at this one. And you're getting OK State at plus money, and that short porch in right field in Athens is going to play perfectly for their big, strong, powerful lefties.
Yeah, I love Oklahoma State here. I think they're the type of team that even if they lose game 1, they've got the pitching staff, they've got the rotation and make it through the losers bracket and actually put up a fight. Duke, if Owen Proch isn't pitching well, they're screwed. I mean, it's quite simple. Like they don't have, like you mentioned, they don't have those guys that they can just rely on in the bullpen. They don't have any pitchers. They don't have any starters after Proch. If he doesn't go deep in game 1, if he doesn't pitch well, then they're screwed. So I really like Oklahoma State here. I don't mind an under. 13.5 is higher than I thought it would be. Once again, that's banking on Proch pitching well. So Oklahoma State has been playing really well down the stretch. I think they're a great look at plus money. Bodendorf's been unbelievable, especially lately. And they've got a lot of pitching options. I think Oklahoma, if I didn't have Georgia preseason to make it to the College World Series, I'd probably look at an Oklahoma State future to make it out of this regional.
Yeah, I do tend to agree here. I think it's an appealing look for sure. All right. A game that I don't really have anything on, and I don't think I'm interested in taking, but let's talk about it because it's going to be something that's probably bet decently. We're going down to Austin's regional. Kansas State against UTSA. UTSA had a great year in the AAC. This was a very fun team to watch that always seems to produce like some pretty good talent. Do you think UTSA is worth the minus 135 here?
No, I'm on Kansas State at plus money. Kansas State is that team where either they show up, they're unbelievable, they look like a top 10 team in the country, or they don't. They look like they shouldn't be ranked. They look like they shouldn't even be in regionals. That being said, for a team like that, I don't mind a plus money shot. If it's a favorite, it's a little bit different. But at plus money, I think that's a good look. UTSA got worked both games they played against Tulane in the AAC tournament. They don't have much pitching whatsoever. They're a team built on their bats, and if they're not hitting, then they're not a very good team. Kansas State really doesn't have the pitching. It's very hit or miss. That's also a big thing for them. But like I said, if this team is playing well, then I think this is a great look at plus money. If they're not the team, if they don't show up, then it's just a plus money loss, and what's the worst that could happen? But I do think Kansas State has the capability to play way better than UTSA.
I think because Kansas State's kind of been in this situation before, more recently at least. I don't love their pitching. I think they just have a handful of guys that are like okay at best. UTSA has probably got the higher ceiling, but Kansas State might have the higher floor. And this time of year, it comes into play. Ultimately, I'm staying away from this game, but I would probably go UTSA just because I think it's a good matchup for them against Kansas State's pitching, but it's nothing official, and I don't think I want anything to do with either of these two teams right now. All right, we got a few more, and then we're going to get into the regionals here. Mississippi State Northeastern. So the news here, Mississippi State is doing something we've seen a few teams do by pitching off. It will not be star Pico Khan. It will be Ben Davis going, which really throws a wrinkle into things against Northeastern. And John, despite the fact that they did not designate Pico Khan as the starter, they're still the favorite against a Northeastern team that has won 27 games in a row and 48 overall in the year. Do you agree?
I don't mind them as favorites, but I'm on Northeastern here. I think they're a very good team. They're built around their pitching. They've obviously been playing well to win that many games in a row. The problem is, I mean, there can be a problem with winning that many games in a row, right? Is you're not used to going down, so you don't know how you're going to respond, and you don't know how to bounce back from adversity. I mean, obviously they lost games earlier in the season, but it's been over a month since they've lost a game. So it'll be very interesting to see how they react there. But they're a team built around their pitching. I'm not too high on Mississippi State. Obviously, they fired their coach a couple weeks ago. Still made the tournament, but they don't have their ace going. I just don't think they're a very good team. I like Northeastern at plus money. I was also looking at the under. I think I'd still lean under. Davis, I don't think he's gone more than like 3 innings in any start this season. That being said, when you get to this time, you're allowed to go until you stop pitching well. Like I wouldn't, if he can go 6 or 7 innings, they'll let him go that deep. So that's not as much of a worry, but I definitely like Northeastern here and I'd lean under.
So the interesting thing, I'm not sure who's going to go for Northeastern. I mean, they have Avon Cabral, maybe Jordan Goatsman, 2.3 ERA this year. He's looked really good. He doesn't walk a lot of guys, but he hasn't faced that level of competition. And Mississippi State isn't like a great offense, but they have a couple of studs, mainly led by Ace Reese, newcomer of the SEC this year. I think one of two things happens. I think Northeastern is actually a legitimate threat and they win this game, or they just show they're just another one of these mid-majors that do really well against nobodies, and they'll win a bunch of games, and they're the best of the worst. I like Northeastern though. I'm going to give them a shot here because it's not Pico Khan. I think it's worth it. So let's do Northeastern at plus money. Fun fact for all my pain and suffering: this region of Tallahassee with Florida State, Mississippi State, and Northeastern, all 3 of those teams were 3 of my biggest futures tickets last year, all playing in the same region. Northeastern was my Hail Mary at 2,500 to 1 that I took at Caesars last January during Wild Card Weekend. Mississippi State was a big future, and Florida State was a huge future. None of them came home, by the way, so that was fun. Are we got another comment here from Dilly Daggers? Are you okay laying the juice for FSU to win the regional with Pico Khan possibly on game 2? We're going to get there. We're talking about that. We have a couple of games to go here. Kansas was a relatively sizable favorite in the minus 175 range across several books. They've come down. People are betting Creighton here. Kansas minus 145, unconfirmed, but I would probably think Dom Vagley goes for the Jayhawks out in this Arkansas regional. Creighton also has a Dom. I'm Italian. I should be able to pronounce his name. Chancerelli, maybe. I'm ashamed. I'm embarrassing my Italian heritage. But do you think Kansas is a good price here to play against this Creighton Blue Jay team?
I am on Creighton here. I think Kansas is a solid team. I think they should go with Vogeli. I think Creighton's a very good team at this price, though. they've got a lot of pitching and they can hit. Kansas, I mean, they don't necessarily have that top pitching. A guy like Vogali, he's been very hit or miss this season. Either he'll pitch really well or he'll pitch absolutely terribly. Kansas has a lot of comeback wins as well. Late game, games late, they get a couple walks, they get a couple of hits, and they end up walking off. I don't know if they'd be able to do that against Creighton. Creighton's got some really good arms. The only thing with Creighton is, have they played? Interestingly enough, these two teams haven't matched up in the regular season. You would think, they would be, they're close in region. You'd think they'd have at least a midweek matchup against each other. But I think there's good value in Creighton at plus money here. I think Kansas is a good team, but I like Creighton.
So I'm going to disagree with you. I like Kansas here. And listen, Creighton's strength of their team is their pitching. Their offense really isn't anything special. And, Dom Cantarelli, he's an experienced guy. I mean, he was at Notre Dame in 2020. So he's been around the block for a minute. And the season he's having is impressive. I mean, it's a 1.94 ERA in 12 starts, 51 innings, 226 opponent batting average. His SIERA is 3.53. So that is a big difference of maybe he's gotten a little bit lucky. And not for nothing, though, and I'm being honest here, I like what Kansas has done, man. I really do. Their offense is good. They're hitting almost 300 as a team. They have 100 home runs. They have a stud in Brady Ballinger, who had a legitimate case to be Big 12 Player of the Year. And while I do agree that Kansas's pitching has been inconsistent, they're talented. And when they play up to their potential, they're a really tough out. Dom Vagley can take over a game and go 8 shutout innings. And against Creighton's offense, that's really nothing special. I think that's definitely possible. And Creighton has not been challenged this year with the elite levels of competition. Like, Kansas has played a Big 12 schedule, and they won over 20 games in that conference. I know a lot of people like Creighton, but truth be told, I think this is a good look for Kansas. I think Kansas is going to be live in this region. And I'll tell you another thing. 145, I might, because I like Kansas, I might honestly wait if I'm looking to bet this. I think Creighton might even get more money, and you might be able to get Kansas down to minus 135. So it could be a good idea to wait. I think I'd probably take Kansas out to minus 175. And listen, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And Creighton goes in and they pull the upset, God bless. But I don't really think Creighton is a team that I'm buying. Last but not least, Arizona State, UC Irvine. Line movement, Arizona State was at the 130 price at one point before Irvine flipped them. Do you think the Anteaters should be the favorite, and do you think they win with Trevor Hansen on the mound going against ASU's Ben Jacobs?
Yeah, I do. I know you're high in Arizona State. You have been since the beginning of the season. I like Irvine here. I mean, we talked about this regional. I'm not high on UCLA whatsoever. I think it's either going to be UC Irvine or Arizona State making it out of this region. And UC Irvine had heavier odds than Arizona State in the region, and they were underdogs when lines first came out. I think they should be favored here. Ben Jacobs, Trevor Hansen's a great matchup. I really do think whoever wins this game is going to go on to win the region. So I'm on Irvine. I think they're a good team. They really slowed down the stretch for me. That worries me a bit. But Arizona's so Jekyll and Hyde. You don't know which Arizona State team you're going to get. If they show up and they're that good Arizona State, then they're going to play unbelievable. They're probably going to win the region. If they show up and they're not there, they're going to go 2-0.
So Arizona State, obviously, as you said, was a team that I like to win the Big 12 regular season. And there's no team in this region that's more talented than Arizona State. No team that's more talented. How many times did Arizona State let me down this year? How much money have they cost me? Because their bullpen it's horrendous. Their bullpen has blown so many leads. And that is something that does not play in June. And I love Ben Jacobs. I thought coming into the year he had a legitimate chance to work his way into a first-round bid. Lefty with big-time strikeout stuff and who's only going to get better. but he's not polished. He has a command problem. I've seen him have plenty of starts where, he'll have 10 strikeouts, but he walks 6 guys or 5 players. Jack Martinez is good as well, but he's been a tad inconsistent. Listen, when they both show out, like, it's impressive and they can carry it. Arizona State's offense is awesome, but they have been so streaky this year. They have so many lefties in their lineup. Their lineup is almost all lefties. I've never seen anything like it. It's nuts. But like, they have a tendency, despite how good they are and how we've seen them really put it on teams this year, to just completely disappear. Key situations, they can't get guys in. They can't execute fundamental baseball, get a bunt down, get a guy over, sack fly, get him in. They strike out too much in big situations. And truthfully, this is a brutal matchup for Arizona State. Because if UC Irvine goes into, I would say, the 6th or 7th inning, probably the 7th inning, with a lead, you know who Irvine's going to bring in. Big West pitcher of the year reliever Ricky Ojeda, left-hander who has been dominant all year. That is a bad matchup. Arizona State is the more talented team, but Irvine's basically revamped their pitching staff midseason. They had no starting rotation that was worth anything consistent. They bring in Riley Kelly as the Friday guy, which I'm a little surprised that they're not starting him here. Trevor Hansen's the Saturday guy, and they have a good bullpen. But their offense has 5 perennial stars. Anthony Martinez is their best player. He was a Golden Spikes preseason watch list guy. He's battled some injuries, and he's had a down year, so his numbers won't reflect it. Chase Call's one of my favorites. Colin Yaman, Jacob McCombs. Like, this is an offense that's really good, and they play good baseball. I do agree with you. Towards the last few weeks of the regular season, they had a big letdown, and they gave away what was a surefire hosting bid. They fell off the table, and they haven't played well coming in. But I think they're the better team and they're more complete. So I'm going to go with UC Irvine minus 130. I got Sunday Puncher. Yeah, I do agree. And listen, I like Arizona State. I wouldn't be upset if the Sun Devils win. And I think if the Sun Devils could play good baseball and consistent and fundamentally sound and not give away leads like they do, this is a surprise team to make Omaha if they could do all those things. But the problem is Willie Bloomquist does not get the most out of his players. So that's why I think Arizona State's in trouble. Like, they are so talented, they can make a run to Omaha. But I just don't think they have the consistency and the fundamentals to do so. Lost to your, yeah. How much money did I lose betting on Arizona State as the last leg of a parlay this year? I don't even want to think about it. I could have bought a plane for the amount of money that happened. All right. We are going to get into the regionals now. Just for, simplicity, I stacked the region with the corresponding regions that would match up in the super regional. So Athens is, and by the way, shop around. Of course, any book is going to offer different odds, and you're going to get better prices elsewhere. But again, I used DraftKings for simplicity purposes and just to keep everything uniform. Georgia minus 310, Duke plus 350, OK State 7-1, Binghamton 40-1. Who's your regional winner? Is it still Georgia?
Yeah, I've got to stick with Georgia. I picked them preseason. I believe it was plus 300 to make it to the College World Series. Like I said earlier, I'm pretty high on this Oklahoma State team. That being said, I was also high on them last year, and they lost the home regional. But it's more their pitching staff. They've just got the pitching staff to make it through the losers bracket if they have to. Georgia's had their pitching problems. They've seemed to have moved things around a little bit in their rotation to finally have some success. Their 2 top guys both had absolutely terrible seasons and got pulled from the rotation. We obviously know they can hit. They're a much better team at home. I'm going Georgia. If you want a good value play, I'd go Oklahoma State.
So preseason Georgia was an Omaha 8 team for me. And listen, they are the best team in this region. It's not a surprise to see them win. But it's not a bettable number here. You're not going to get any value betting Georgia at all this weekend. I like Oklahoma State. I made that an official play, despite the fact that I had Georgia preseason. Oklahoma State, I gave out 10-1. I couldn't believe my eyes. Oklahoma State should be probably where Duke is in terms of that number, because Oklahoma State, like I said, they have the best pitching staff in this region, and while they don't have the best offense, they might have the best offensive player, Nolan Schubert. If Schubert gets hot, he can carry this team, and I think they are going to be a matchup problem for any team they face. Can they continue their hot stretch? Can they play consistent baseball is the big question. But off sheer number, it doesn't make sense. So I gave out 10-1. I think I would play Oklahoma State all the way down to 5-1 for this region. I think they are live. I think they are a big-time threat. Matching up with the winner of the Athens region will be the Oxford region, where Ole Miss is currently playing host. They're a short plus money one seed here with that Georgia Tech, Western Kentucky, Murray State look. John, I didn't expect a lot from Ole Miss coming to the year. There was too many question marks. I didn't think their pitching was going to be good enough. And quite frankly, I just felt like there was better teams. But the way it works, the draw can be favorable sometimes. And I'm not saying it's easy for Ole Miss, but it's winnable. It's definitely winnable, despite on paper what they would have to face. They've played well this year. They have 105 home runs, top 10. They have 6 different guys in double figures. They have Hunter Elliott, who was a key piece of that 22 title run as a freshman. He's missed last 2 years with Tommy John. He's been marvelous in the second half of the year, and he's their bread and butter. I like Ole Miss here. I don't buy Georgia Tech. I don't think they have the pitching. Western Kentucky's worth the sprinkle. I gave them out at plus 470 because if their pitching does what they're capable of and they get some offensive production, Ryan Weidman is the star that he is. They're live. But I think Ole Miss is going to win this region here. And I have Ole Miss going to Omaha. I have Ole Miss taking down Georgia because I like their pitching a little bit better. And I think offensively they can match them with power. But if it's Oklahoma State, I just don't think OK State's got the offense to take advantage against Ole Miss's pitching. So therefore, I think Ole Miss is the play for me.
I like Ole Miss too here. Their pitching staff's been great. I mean, their relievers, they're Hunter Elliott, and I believe it's Riley Maddox, right, is their second guy. He pitched really well in the SEC tournament. The only worry for me is they haven't really been hitting. I mean, they scored over 3 runs once in the SEC tournament, and that was with 4 unearned against Arkansas in that inning. Arkansas had 2 defensive blunders that caused Ole Miss to be able to score those runs. So pitching will get you through regionals. I mean, they can get you to the College World Series and they can get you deep in the College World Series too. I'm not saying that, but I'm also just not high on Georgia Tech. I said McKee, he's probably pitching game 1. He's all Georgia Tech has in terms of pitching. Western Kentucky, like I said, with them, they're not playing great. They've been going down. They haven't necessarily been taking control of games. They've been needing to come back. That's not going to fly against a team like Ole Miss in the way that their bullpen's been pitching. So I really like Ole Miss out of that regional, but I'm still going to stick with Georgia to make it to the College World Series, even though I'm not as high on them, but I had them preseason, so I got to stick with it.
100% agree. I don't want to buck the trend, but I think the pitching is going to bite them in the ass again. Just Brian Curley's the one arm they have that's consistent. That it's talent, and they have a couple talented bullpen arms like JT Quinn and Zach Harris, but it's nothing to write home about. The guy that they were really hoping for, and I was expecting a lot from him, and I had high hopes, and I thought that could be one of the big missing pieces that they needed was Alton Davis coming over from Alabama as a closer role after struggling in 24. After he had an unreal freshman season in 23, but that hasn't materialized. So, that's the one issue for Georgia with me. But Auburn regional, Auburn minus 200, NC State 250, Stetson 750, Central Connecticut 45-1. I'll go first. I really respect what Auburn has done this year. I mean that. And their offense is great. They play at home. They have maybe the best, I would say they probably have the best hitter in this region, one of the best in the country, and probably one of the best college bats in the draft, and Ike Irish. That kid's a stud. But the problem is, and is the question I've had all year, what happens after Samuel Dutton pitching day? Who, by the way, Dutton has not been sharp as of late. His last few starts, he's not been sharp. But say he shoves, what do they do after the fact? Cade Fisher, Christian Chatterton, who's actually been their best secondary arm, Cam Tilley. Like, there's nobody that you can rely on here for Auburn. So, worst case scenario, if Samuel Dutton doesn't do well, it's a tough look for the rest of their staff that they would have to rely on somebody. And this is an up for grabs region, bro. Like, NC State's live. I gave them out. I like NC State out of this region because I think their pitching is better. And I think they're a little bit more seasoned and experienced in this situation. I think Stetson is more than live. Listen, Auburn is in the same boat as Georgia. They're the most talented team in the region. They're most likely to win, but it's not bettable. And I think they're a vulnerable host to some degree. So I can't bet them. I think also it's probably a decent strategy. If you could find NC State close to 3-1 and you got Stetson at 750, it's not a bad idea to take like a little nibble on Stetson and a unit on NC State.
Yeah, I'm with you, especially with Sam Dutton in Auburn. I mean, he's been their ace. He's been the guy, their horse, the guy that they can rely on, and he has not pitched well in his past few starts. I don't totally trust him there. I don't think they'll use him against Central Connecticut State. Yeah, probably the worst. Maybe other than North Dakota State, maybe the worst team in the regionals, one of them at least. But I'm not very high on NC State. That being said, they can definitely win this regional. I don't think, like I said, I don't think Auburn's very good. I think they're a solid team, but after Sam Dutton, there are a lot of question marks. Stetson, I think, is a great value pick. They've got the pitching to make it through this regional. If they get some timely hitting, if they can beat NC State in that game one, NC State's also a team that their pitching definitely falls off after their top guy. So if I had to make a play in this regional, I would play Stetson, but I don't have any official plays.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point. I ultimately went official pick NC State, but I think Stetson's absolutely worth the play. I think they are a live 3 seed in this region. The winner of this one would match up with the winner of Conway's regional. Coastal Carolina has been flipped in a lot of spots. Coastal was like a minus 125-ish favorite, with Florida being like a plus 130 2 seed. That's flipped. Florida's become the trendiest 2 seed in the regions this year. Florida's now the favorite in a lot of books. I actually wrote up an article about a month ago on RotoWire where I said I like Florida at 30-1 to win the College World Series because they were getting hot, crawled out of the 1-11 start in SEC play. A lot of talent, extremely strong weekend rotation with good bullpen arms despite a lot of key injuries. Their offense, same story. They probably won't have Colby Shelton, one of their best bats, but like Kevin O'Sullivan's the guy, man. This is the most experienced coach in this region and in this super region. He knows how to get the most out of his players. He knows how to mix and match and plug and play. I like Florida. I gave him out at plus money earlier in the week, but I think Florida is a good bet. Coastal Carolina, I wouldn't sleep on, though. They have their best pitching staff they've had in a long time. And despite the fact that their offense isn't as good as it used to be, like a couple years ago, it's still above average, and they play great at home. So I wouldn't be sleeping on Coastal Carolina, but I'm going to take Florida. Played much better competition this year, had to crawl out of the abyss. So give me the Gators, and I have the Gators coming out of this super regional advancing to Omaha.
Yeah, we usually have 1 or 2 teams that aren't 1 seeds that are favorites, and this is that one this year. I think Coastal Carolina got a bit of a tough draw here, considering they dominated the Sun Belt. They were one of the better teams, and I think they should have. There are a lot of other really bad 2 seeds that they could have gotten in their regional. They ended up getting Florida. I'd probably go Florida here. I was very close to playing them officially, but stayed off it. I think I'm just going to keep playing it game by game here. Coastal Carolina is a very good team. They have a really good pitching staff this year, but I'm with you. I like Florida to make it out of that regional. And I like them to make it to Omaha as well. That it's what they do.
We always doubt them every year. They always do it. All right. Next up, we got the Austin region. Side note, there was like a tornado, maybe. There was a big storm down in Austin yesterday, and their entire center field wall collapsed. So like they don't have a center field wall right now. It's a situation to monitor. They're working on fixing it. I don't know if it's going to be ready in time for tomorrow afternoon. I haven't seen an update since this afternoon, so I truly have no idea at the moment. So that's something to watch. Like, could this regional be playing elsewhere? I feel like they're going to find a way to get it done, but it is definitely interesting and would be a huge blow for Texas, who earned the number 2 seed overall this year. But the Horns are minus 225 in some spots. UTSA's 280, Kansas State 701, Houston Christian 4,500. John, I think this is Texas all the way. I wouldn't lay this number of 225, but I think it's interesting if you want to do like a regional future parlay. But I've had Texas making Omaha since preseason. I really like this team, and I think they're going to do it again.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's Texas all the way. I parlayed them to win the regional. I'm not high on UTSA, as you guys heard. Kansas State, I mean, I think they could make it through, but they don't have the pitching staff, in my opinion. Texas, they lost Jared Spencer, which is massive for them. Huge blow to their pitching depth, but I still think they're the best team in this regional by far. I actually added them to make it to the College World Series when I saw their draw. So I have them making the College World Series now. They've got, I think, the easiest regional on the opposite side to match up against. So we'll get into a second. But I like Texas to make it out of this regional. I like them to make it to the College World Series, even though I'm not that high on them. I don't think they'll do any damage in the College World Series, but I think they just have the draw to make it there.
That region in question they'd be matching up with is the Los Angeles region, home of UCLA, who is a very short number 1 seed. They're plus money in some spots, as they should be. Irvine's plus 250, ASU's 350, Fresno State 15-1. We mentioned it earlier in the program. This is probably the most up for grabs region. I would say Clemson is second. 1 through 4 can legitimately win. I had Irvine. I gave them out at 310. We kind of went over this in detail, but basically Irvine's the most complete team. And despite the fact that they haven't really played well down the stretch, which is a little bit of a concern, I think that they're going to find a way to get this done. ASU is, again, the most talented team, but they're not consistent enough. I have ASU finishing up as the runner-up. I have Irvine winning. I have UCLA finishing as the 3. And Fresno State as the 4. So, sorry. And I have Texas beating Irvine. I think no matter who wins, would have to most likely go to Austin, assuming it would have to go to Austin if Texas wins. None of these teams, these are all West Coast teams. West Coast teams typically struggle against the SEC, and I just don't think any of them would be ready to handle business. So give me the Horns to go to Omaha.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I like UC Irvine in this regional. I gave that play out as well. I think if you're going to make a play in this regional, it's got to be Irvine or Arizona State, or I don't mind Fresno State, but I would not play UCLA. I do not think they're very good. Don't think they should even be favorites in this regional. And if they do make it to the regionals, I don't think they have a chance against Texas. So I like Texas.
Yeah. Baton Rouge. LSU is a let me fix that. I thought I put LSU and I didn't. So LSU is minus 400, minus 500. DBU's 4-1, Rhode Island 35-1, Little Rock 100-1. It's quick and easy, LSU. I think the only way that they don't win is if their offense does what they've had a bad habit of doing, is just like completely not showing up and just like going into this lull where they're sleepwalking. That's the only way that they don't win. Like Dallas Baptist is a fun team, and we do this every year with DBU. I feel like I'm always every year I've taken a ticket on DBU because their offense is great. They have some talented pitchers, but every time the calendar turns June, they don't show up in a regional. They fall flat on their face, Their bullpen is awful. Like, officially, their nickname is Dallas Bombers University because they have bombs. But unofficially, their nickname is Dog Shit Bullpen University because their pen is bad. Grant J for DBU, the Patriots, powerful catcher. Really like Grant J. I think he realistically should be getting some first-round draft buzz. I don't know if he will, but he's talented. There's a lot of players here, but I think LSU is going to win this. They have maybe the easiest regional draw. As a Tigers preseason ticket holder, I am very excited about their path. Yeah,
I agree with you. I think it's LSU all the way. I also think this is one of the easiest regionals. Rhode Island as a 3 seed is a joke. I haven't been high on DBU all season long. They shit the bed in their conference tournament as well. They looked pretty terrible, to be honest. I think it's LSU easily.
Matching up, it would be that Clemson regional where Clemson's minus 110, Kentucky 320, WVU 350, and Upstate 10-1. I don't love Clemson the way they've been playing. I think they're talented, but again, inconsistent. They've been playing sloppy, and the only team that doesn't play sloppy and beat themselves is Kentucky in this region. But I'm going to stay with the Tigers because, like you, I've had them since the preseason to make Omaha. I think Kentucky is a good bet, to be honest, at plus 320. I think if there's anybody else that I'm betting here, it's going to be Kentucky. They have probably the most balanced weekend rotation in this entire region. They do not make errors. They do a lot of the fundamental things right. But I'm going to stay with Clemson here. And I think LSU is going to go to Omaha.
Yeah, I'm with you. I bet Clemson to make it out of this regional. They're a great team at home. I think they're a good team. I don't believe in West Virginia. Every time they play a good team, they haven't been able to show that they're, I guess, worth that being that quality of a team. Not high on Kentucky. Like I said, I don't think they should have made regionals. I think Clemson makes it out of that regional, but I think LSU absolutely works whoever they face in 2 games at home.
Chapel Thrill, UNC minus 330, Oklahoma 4-1, Nebraska 7-1, Holy Cross 75-1. UNC, again, was a preseason Omaha 8 team for me. I really believe in them. The Kyson Witherspoon wrinkle could play very large here if it indeed works. If Oklahoma wins tomorrow and Kyson Witherspoon goes against UNC on Saturday, that could, like I said, create a very big ripple effect for the rest of the tournament, especially on the left side of the bracket. But I'm going to go with UNC.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm a little weary of teams that win their conference tournaments. It seems like they usually don't have that that good of a showing in the, I guess, regionals or super regionals, whichever one, they end up not playing well in. UNC has the team that's built to make it through this type of format. They've got a very good starting staff. They've got very good bullpen. And they've got some serious hitters on that team. I like UNC to make it out of that region. I think if Oklahoma does play UNC with Kyson Witherspoon in that second game, I think even if Oklahoma wins, I think UNC has the team and they've got the pitching to come back around out of the losers bracket and beat Oklahoma twice. So I like UNC out of that region.
The super regional draw could be interesting if chalk prevails. Oregon's minus 175. Zona is 3-1. Cal Poly 450 and Utah Valley 45-1. John, Oregon is pissed off. They got hosed. Oregon, I think, should have probably been the 8th seed. But their draw is not terrible. Cal Poly's not a gimme. They're frisky. Arizona's tough, and we talked about them. They have good pitching to the point where, like, it's balanced enough in terms of depth, like weekend rotation. Good Friday guy in Kramkowski, good Sunday guy in Smith Bailey, who is a name to circle for draft boards in a couple years. I just think the truth is Arizona doesn't have the horses to compete with Oregon as an overall unit. Oregon's got the best pitcher in this region in Grayson Grinzel. This kid's been unbelievable. They have a good weekend rotation. They have an offense that has mashed this year. Mason Neville's got 26 home runs leading the country. 175, though, is as high as I will go. If you're flirting past that, to me, it's dangerous because Arizona is live. Arizona is absolutely a live 2 seed. I just think Oregon's the better team and at home where it's a tough place to play and they have historically played really well. I like the Duckies here to get it done. Go down to Chapel Hill for the Tar Heels to beat them and move on to Omaha.
So I'm actually not very high on Oregon. Grincel's a solid pitcher. I'm not as high on him either as a lot of people are. That being said, I don't think this is that difficult of a region. Arizona can definitely give them problems, especially with their pitching staff, like you mentioned. I don't think Cal Poly's got the pitching staff to be able to make it out. I wouldn't if they could definitely hit their way through this regional, but I'm just not very high on Oregon. I do think they get out of the regional. If you want to value play, I don't mind Arizona at plus 300 now either. But I do think they get out of their regional. I just don't think they're very good.
So I'm trying to find out right now if Oregon State's doing what most of these 1 seeds are doing and pitching off and maybe throwing Colin Clark or Jason Reitz in the game against Utah Valley, which honestly is smart. And I'm going to tell you why in just a second. Let me see if I can find it. It's not confirmed, but if Oregon does that, pitches off, and they throw Clark or Reitz against Utah Valley, which is a game that they shouldn't have any trouble with. The interesting thing about both Oregon's offense and Arizona's offense is they are horrible against lefties. Like it's bad. Oregon's over 100 points worse against a lefty than a righty. Arizona's, I don't know if they're as bad, but it's definitely really bad. So why that matters is because if Oregon does that and saves Grincel for that game too, and Arizona beats Cal Poly, which we both think is going to happen, Grayson Grincel, who's been one of the top 10, top 8 arms in the country this year, goes against Arizona, and he's a lefty, and he's been dominant. That's a tough matchup. And that would propel Oregon most likely to get to that 2-0 seed where they would just need one more win in order to advance. So that's the matchup here. That's the matchup. But either way, I like UNC to get to Omaha, John.
Yeah, I agree. I think UNC, or if it's Oregon that gets out, if it's UNC or Oklahoma, I think whoever wins that regional is getting it to Omaha.
Fayetteville Regional, Arkansas minus 550, Kansas plus 550, Creighton 12-1, North Dakota State 100-1. I'll let you start this one.
Which one are we starting with?
Fayetteville.
Okay, so Arkansas was my team to win the College World Series preseason. We know they've had their troubles in regionals, home regionals specifically. So that definitely worries me, especially at this minus 550 number, because Kansas is a good team. I wouldn't be surprised if they make it out. I do have Creighton in this first game. I do think they can beat Kansas, but I don't know if they can make it out of this regional. I'm all over Arkansas. I had them to make it to the College World Series preseason. I'm going to stick with them.
Arkansas was my preseason pick last year, and I didn't buy them this year. I didn't think their offense would be as good as it is. I think they have a bunch of overachievers that are not as good as what they've put on. Something's missing for me with Arkansas this year. I don't know what it is. Like on paper, they might have the best roster, the most complete team, but there's just something that I can't explain that turns me off. I don't think they have a legit SEC Friday night guy. I like Zach Root. He was really good as Tracy Savage's Saturday guy last year. He's done well overall, but it's nothing special. His ERA has been in the 4s for pretty much the whole year. Zach Root is talented, but he's not like Friday night SEC dominant where he's going to go out there and shove every single start. He's had a few really standout performances, but otherwise it's been a lot of 5 innings, 3 runs, 6 innings, 4 runs, that kind of thing. I like Kansas here. I gave them out 7-1 because I thought that was ridiculous. Kansas has 2 good starters with a couple pretty good bullpen pieces, and they have an offense that can definitely match Arkansas's offense. Ultimately, I think the number speaks for itself. And truthfully, Arkansas hasn't proven that they could get out of a regional in the last couple of years. And while the third time's probably the charm, I think Kansas should be closer to 3-1, maybe 4. They should not be 7-1. They should not be 6-1. They should not be 5.5-1. So I'm going to go with Kansas as the official pick. And if I'm wrong, so be it. I took a shot. Their region is going to face Tennessee and Knoxville. So Tennessee's minus 250, Wake is 3-1, Cincinnati 750, Miami, Ohio 40-1. I have Tennessee as a preseason Omaha 8 team, so I have them to win here. I have them, I think, despite how bad they've played in the second half, Tony V in June, the postseason pedigree is going to have his guys ready. I like Tennessee to go down to Fayetteville in a rematch in an electric super regional and advance to Omaha. I will say this. Cincinnati plus 850 is out there. That is worth a sprinkle. Because if Cincinnati plays Marcus Phillips in Tennessee in game 2, where Marcus Phillips is the worst pitcher against the run game, the Vols are vulnerable and they're in trouble. So Cincinnati on a sprinkle, but official pick is Tennessee. Tennessee goes to the super regional or Omaha.
Yeah, I'm with you. I also had Tennessee preseason. I'm sticking with them. I think this is one of the easiest regionals. I don't think Wake Forest is very good. I think Cincinnati's, they're a live dog, but I don't think they have the pitching staff to get through regional. Liam Doyle has not been pitching well lately either. But I still think Tennessee makes it out of the regional.
Yeah, I know we got to wrap it up soon. We got a few more minutes, but we're almost done. Corvallis Regional, Oregon State minus 125, TCU 165, USC 7-1, St. Mary's 22-1. I took TCU. I think they're going to be pissed off. They're furious that they didn't get a host, and their reward for having a great season was going into Corvallis as a number 2 seed. Plus 165. I think I gave them out a plus 175, plus 185 earlier this week. Ultimately, I think they have the best pitcher in this region in Tommy Lepore. Their offense has played really well. Oregon State's a talented team, but they rely on 5, maybe 6 players to really carry this team. Ava Arquette's the best player in this region. He might be the first college bat off the board this summer. It's pretty much Arquette and Gavin Turley that really have to shoulder the burden. And if that doesn't happen, the offense could, go down quiet. The pitching staff is ultra talented, high octane, very inconsistent. Dax Whitney is a future superstar, very high draft pick in a couple years. But I like TCU here, man. We've seen them perform well in June in past years. So give me TCU at a nice plus money price.
I'm with you. I like TCU here, plus money. My only worry is after Tommy Lepore, it's a lot of question marks. They did pitch well in the Big 12 tournament. They played pretty well. Their offense went silent in that last game. They scored 1 run and then didn't score the entire rest of the game, and it was a 10-inning game. I'm not very high on Oregon State. I think they're a good team. They're obviously better at home as well. They're one of those teams. I wouldn't be surprised if they make it out of the regional. I just don't think they'd make it very far. I like TCU.
And finally, their super regional counterpart would be Tallahassee, Florida State, Mississippi State, Northeastern, and Bethune-Cookman. FSU minus 125, State plus 275, Northeastern 3-1, and BC at 100-1. I have FSU here. I think they got a relatively favorable draw, and their super regional draw is not that hard. FSU, I don't understand why they're such a short price. They gave them out at minus 110. They're minus 125 here. Either somebody knows something I don't, or this is the easiest bet of all time. FSU has a great weekend rotation, and they have a good offense with some boppers. Their bullpen is terrible. That is their one bugaboo. That's why I didn't pick them to win the College World Series this year or even go to the College World Series. I think FSU gets it done, and they're going to get lucky because I think TCU wins the Corvallis Regional, travels to Tallahassee, but I think TCU finds a way to beat FSU. I have TCU going to Omaha, and even though I wasn't big on them coming to the year, I can't believe I'm saying it. I think they're going to be frisky here. I think they're just going to be that team that's not ultra talented, but finds a way to get it done.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think they got a super easy draw. I'm assuming they're going to save Jamie Arnold for that second game, who's been pretty good this year, but not, I guess, as good as some people thought he'd be. Northeastern has a great pitching staff. They've probably got the depth to make it through here. Mississippi State, obviously they have the SEC talent. They're saving Cone for that second game, but they also just fired their coach. I think there's a lot up in the air with that team, where they're looking elsewhere. I mean, we heard Brian O'Connor might end up being with them maybe by, the regional tomorrow. So I think that program's looking elsewhere right now. I like Florida State to get out of that regional. And this is another one. I don't think TCU or Florida State or Oregon State is good enough to make it to the College World Series, but they got good draws.
So one of them's got to do it.
Exactly. So one of them's got to make it. We're going to end up fading them in the College World Series as soon as we get there. But I do think Florida State makes it.
Yeah. Last one, Nashville, the Nashville region, Vandy minus 350, Louisville 5-1, ETSU 650, Wright State 775-1. I think this is Vandy. They have maybe the easiest draw of the region. I don't think they're that great, but they're pitching. They're a great pitching staff, front to back. They're deep. They have the best coach of all time, Tim Corbin, and they're timely on offense. They play good fundamental baseball. It's not bettable. I think ETSU at like 650, 7-1 is worth a little sprinkle because they can hit, and you never know if Vandy ends up fading in the postseason. They would go against the USM regionals, Hattiesburg. USM is a plus money price. I have Alabama. I think they're maybe the most live 2 seed along with Florida. I gave them out, I think, at 175. I have Bama winning that region. I have Vandy beating Bama in that rematch down in Nashville, where Bama blew a 6-run lead to win the series late in the year. I think Bama at like plus 475 to make the College World Series is a play for sure. It's worth a sprinkle, but I'm going to go with Vandy because they're more consistent and they have better pitching.
Yeah, so Vandy's the other team. It was Texas that as soon as I saw these draws, I bet Texas to make the College World Series. Vandy's the other team. As soon as I saw this draw, I bet them to make the College World Series. Obviously, there's the number 1 overall seed curse, and these teams that really struggle being the number 1 overall seed. I think this regional is probably the easiest regional. I don't think Louisville is worth a 2 seed whatsoever. They have no pitching. ETSU is a solid team. They also don't have too much pitching. I think Vandy gets out easy. Southern Miss is a really good team. I think they saved JB Middleton for that second game. Don't pitch him against Columbia. We did see, I don't remember if it was last year or 2 years ago, where USM ended up playing, I think it was Pennsylvania in that home regional, and Penn gave them a lot of problems.
Yeah.
USM, I believe, did end up winning that. But same idea here with that Ivy League team. But I'm not very high on Miami. Bama is solid. I think they're much better at home, but I like Southern Miss to get out of that regional. I played that. I like Vandy to make it to the College World Series.
Just to recap, my Omaha 8 right now: Vols, LSU, TCU, UNC, Florida, Ole Miss, Clemson, and Texas. Recap. Yours.
I can say real fast. I got Texas, Florida State, Florida, Vandy, Georgia, UNC, Oregon, Irvine, Clemson, Tennessee, Southern Miss, Ole Miss, LSU, Auburn. Don't love anyone in that region, though. Arkansas and TCU.
I was going to say Omaha 8, but real quick.
I was just going through. I don't remember which one.
What's your College World Series finals predictions?
I need to see both sides of the bracket so I know who's actually playing. But I'm going to stick with Arkansas to end up winning. I played them preseason. I've got to stick with them. Is LSU on the other side?
LSU's on the right side. Same with Arkansas.
Okay, then I would think LSU and Arkansas end up matching up together. I don't know, maybe UNC as well or Georgia. But I'm going to go with Arkansas to win.
My prediction is LSU over UNC. You can get that on FanDuel. Exact result at 50-1 for LSU and UNC to match up is 31-1. So that's where I like my College World Series finals predictions for the 2025 College World Series. This was a great show. Jam-packed, had a lot of good information, a lot of good plays. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we really appreciate you listening. John, I always appreciate your insight and for you taking the time to come on with us here this evening.
Yeah, thanks for having me on as always. Always fun to talk some college baseball, and it's going to be a fun weekend.
It's going to be a fun weekend, and we'll see you next week when we talk about the Super Regionals and whatever plays that we have across the board. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great weekend, and let's get some winners.